All righty, and welcome to another Data and API show. We are so happy to have you all here today. This is a special Thursday edition, and this will be going out onto the newsletters and follow-ups for all those that are just not sure what's happening about this being a Thursday, not a Tuesday. But we are super happy to have you all here. I am joined again by Swix or Shawn or whichever way you prefer to say it. Shawn, how's it going?
Is good. It's going well. Excited to dig into part two of whatever we didn't leave undone.
Yeah. So for those that were missed part one, basically we created a connection between Hasura and Temporal, or we were getting the connections in place. So essentially we got it set up where we had the Hasura e-commerce model. Then we had the Swix sort of like logistics processing model. Not Swix, temporal processing model. Yeah, same thing, right? No, the temporal processing model, and we were able to initialize workflows on the temporal process. And what we were wanting to do is be able to trigger off those behaviors as events from somebody creating an order. So I create an order, it creates a workflow on temporal. And then as I process things by interacting with this long-running function, it will then update my Hasura model at different defined or Hasura model at different defined steps. I was corrected recently by my boss that I have been saying the name of the company wrong for the last year. So Hasura.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, right for you. Like you got some of that dialect stuff. You understand more of the tonals from that region of the world. Yeah.
I just channeled Tamai because I met him a few years ago, and he's always said it Hasura. So I kind of just channel him.
Yeah, it sounds more intelligent to say it Hasura as opposed to Hasura, like Greg.
So, I don't think it actually matters.
So
if you can use it, it's good.
Team just fell over dead, but yeah, that's apparently Hasura, and this is actually interesting. So apparently, with a Z is the leading misspelling for searching for our brand, and I think that is a really good way as a developer relations person to measure the impact of your outreach is by seeing however badly you butcher the name of the company. And that being the inbound, it'd be like if somebody was looking like tempura batter, for temporal, it's kind of like tempura IO, and you could just kind of trademark that inbound keyword, and people would know it was only you that's been saying that live in recordings all over the internet.
Very good attribution. Our problem is temporal versus temporal, and we have about half the company doing temporal, and it's temporal. So yeah, I feel the pain somewhat, but at the end of the day, we're mostly typing it, so I don't care.
That's fair. That is fair. Hey, let's just jump right to it because this is part two, and if you are not aware of part one, there's just no catching up at this point. So we're continue the recordings, and we'll get the repos out, and these will be all updated in the metadata once this goes out live. That being said, let's jump right at the actual code here and have a look at what's going on. Put my screen here up. Let me go ahead and add just a little bit. One of the things I like about Restream is they have this ability for background music. So I kind of like the
the
getting
little... fancy. Nice.
So it's got some nice dead space work here going on. So it's good. Awesome. Yeah, let's jump right at it. So what I've got here is basically the code. Let's have a look at the actual interfaces we're dealing with. That's just a tad on the loud side, so I'll drop that down just to the sub 10s. Okay. This was the interface we were working with, kind of like a standard e-commerce processing thing. A user would be coming in here to create an order of some kind, choosing from various SKUs of a specific model. These are very dev jokey t-shirts. But Peerless, I thought was kind of fun. That seemed like a really good brand for a developer t-shirt.
Yeah.
But then we have the ability, I added the interfaces here. If you recall last week, we had the buttons down below. I've added the interfaces here. The buttons do not do anything at the moment, but what does happen is we are able to get access to a currently selected state of an order, which will then be showing up here later on to potentially, if we get that far, to expose some additional data. But an interface probably everybody is familiar with. That interface is powered by Hasura. And this is our data model. And what we were connecting, and I'm trying to remember if we hadn't gotten that far yet. So what we're doing later on is we will be having an event that when we create a new order, like one of these orders, it is going to trigger a workflow that is actually happening over at Temporal. And that is where we will be able to sort of start to create these orders and then be able to interface with the API to trigger different behaviors inside of this scoped function. And that's kind of where we left off. And just as a refresher as well, the reason why we're kind of looking at this connection here is there's this concept about letting different systems essentially do what they do best, like e-commerce, lifecycle product data, persisted data, database data for users, models, hugely connected, interconnected meshes is something that works really well with Hasura. But then you have a lot of cases where you have a lot of workflows and a lot of functions and a lot of processes that need an idea of a isolated state. You could recreate a shipping platform. You could recreate DHL or DHL for those who are not based in Germany. You could recreate a shipping company if you wanted to, and recreate all the state. But if you wanted to say, this is a discrete service that has its own interdependencies, its own methods, its own life cycle, then a tool like Temporal really is amazing because it allows you to create these year-long processes that you're able to interact with and be able to sort of have like a current memory. And when that thing is finished, you can also then just free it up, like totally just dump that function, and then it's gone. Yeah. So pretty cool. Let's have a look where we left off in the code from the Temporal side. So this is the web folder. I will just clear out some of these here. I was in the process of dorking around some more updates, which we're not going to worry about for right now. We have the service folder, which is where I had stored my Temporal work. And inside of service, we had then the source. And inside of source, we had the workers, right? Or not even workers, but it was
you had the signals, you had activities, you had workflows.
Workflow, yeah. Exactly. So here we had the workflows. What we had left off with at the very end of the last show is we had our top level delivery process function here. Mm-hmm. And inside of there, we created a bunch of these signals. So we created a bunch of signals that are going to be exposed to the delivery process. So we're able to signal this function with different discrete steps. And then we had these handlers that are listening for these signals that will be able to basically pick up the code roughly where these different states occur. And then we had these conditional awaits here. And in the case here, we had this delivered method, which if I recall correctly was an activity, right? Where we did this mutation.
Hasura,
yeah. And then we were able to do that. So, I did find out, I want to apologize to the community here. I did find out that we actually do, in fact, have a community contribution for at types GraphQL. So it exists. Thank you to the community for producing that. I am working on I'm going to be opening that up as a community project for anybody who's wanting to get some swag and stuff to maybe merge those into a unified library. That would be awesome, but we'll kick that off. But really big thanks for that, because that definitely saves us some time from...
I noticed a duplicate client query in there. What is
that? Might have just been a fat-fingered code thing, so we'll just...
Yeah. All right.
just do that.
Okay. Yeah, we're up to speed.
All right, let's go back to workflows here. So we have the delivered here. I suppose the first thing would be to actually create
we can uncomment all these. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, was that what you're going for?
I was going to say we could start with having the connection from Hasura to when we make an order, then it actually calls this API to create a new workflow. And then we're able to sort of process those individuals, or we can do it whichever way. Like,
so so there's current. What you're saying is there's currently no way to kick off a workflow. Is that right?
What I'm saying, at the moment, it is a manual API call to create the workflow. Yeah.
Okay.
We want it to be automated. We want it to happen as a response to an order being created.
All right. So, and is the order being created in Hasura?
Yeah. So the order is being created at the API level here. So we create an order, and then what we want to do is call through an event watching the orders table an API endpoint. That API endpoint being the restified service at Temporal.
Okay. And do you want to wire that up on the Hasura side first, or?
Let's do it. I'm going to pull up in Postman here because I believe I had left the API information there.
Okay, Postman's not on screen. Oh, it's starting up.
It's bouncing.
I've recently, I don't know if you want looking for Postman alternatives, but I recently came across a couple.
Yeah,
there's like Meta something.
There was another one too that was
Requestly. Requestly. Yeah, Requestly.
That's cool. Is that web-based?
I don't know. All I know is like everyone's trying to be a faster Postman because Postman's kind of slowed down with all the features they're adding.
I want to say that I even bookmarked one recently. Hopscotch, I think.
Yep, that's another one. Yeah, that used to be Postwoman.
But that's GraphQL.
Yeah.
People.
Well, they have REST.
So we can also just mess with it here too. If that'll give us access to a locally running service that I don't know.
Yeah.
So what would be the path to try to pull up our service? Is that the same service running here, the 8088, or?
No. So by itself, it doesn't have a REST layer. So are you?
I'm not running my server. That's a good call.
Yeah.
I need to turn on my server. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. I'm just going to open up another. Well, I am running the server. I needed to run the service though, so I need to because there was like some sort of a background worker, right?
Yeah, the temporal worker. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay. So let me go ahead and make.
You can do that within VS Code or however you like to do it.
I just wanted to separate out the terminals so it's easier for us to debug and process. Right. So I'm just going to go ahead and move into that process here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I had
parts. Oh.
Yeah, I was debugging and I had to take a look and see what I was doing wrong. And so I'm going to cd into the service here. So the server is running, but the worker is not running. And what's the actual worker?
Yeah, you can npm run start.watch.
Okay, so I thought, yarn run start.watch.
Mm-hmm.
There we go, worker.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, that's going. Okay, so if you want to do anything RESTful,
got a crash though. So it complained about
GraphQL.
Complained about GraphQL.
Why?
Because we can't find the module.
Is this a TypeScript error or like a JS error? Okay, it looks like a JS error. Is it just not installed? What happened?
Well, I thought it was, but yarn add GraphQL. May have changed node environments default recently for another project, and I may not have switched back. So that may be why my let me just give it a good old yarn, generally speaking here.
Yep.
Make sure everything is current. Let's go and try that again.
Well, the thing I was thinking about as well, so that you see that string. Okay, yeah. Well, it looks like it's starting up. That string that got printed out, that is a console log that was left in by one of our developers. So it's actually been taken out, but it's embarrassing that it's actually got there.
Talk about identifiable metrics.
Well, it was supposed to be
cool.
feature flagged. Is the real answer, but we forgot the feature flag.
So I'm running the REST version, the REST wrapper,
right,
on 3500. So we can go back to Hopscotch here, and we'll go
let's see if that
to
works.
localhost 3500. And what would be that path for creating a
workflow?
Initially in the workflow. Is it workflow at the top level?
So it's not automatic. You have to. Did you already set it up? I don't remember.
I set it up. Yeah, we can go to the server code and have a look at it. So underneath the server itself, we have the wrapper, and it exposes the default namings for everything that.
Okay, well done. Yeah. Well done. Okay, so that's great. So then, I think it is /workflows.
In there.
Yeah, I think it's /workflows, and then right, exactly. That's the one. Yep.
Let's just see if do I need to give it a body?
No.
How does it know which?
You're just posting to that.
But I'll need to, right? I'll need to pass in the ID of the order, so that the current process is aware of the order that it's supposed to be working on, right?
Okay.
I think we'll need to modify the code a little bit to make sure that it's. Let's just see real quick if Hopscotch is able to do it for localhost. Looks like it's not going to be happy about localhost on Hopscotch, unfortunately.
Doesn't do it. All right, back to Postman. Yeah, back to Postman. Makes sense. It needs to be an app. Okay.
I'm guessing there's a plugin for it that allows you to do the localhost thing.
Yeah. It's fine. I don't know.
Yeah, I know it's a waste of time here, but.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
So let's go ahead and add a new one.
3500. Yeah. I don't know what that does. Yeah. Do you need to reload?
Boom.
Hey. Okay.
I mean, it's not working, but it's we can debug that. It's post. It's a post request, right? Not a get request.
Yeah, it's a post. Yeah, exactly. And you can send a body. So whatever the workflow function accepts.
So let's go ahead and add a body to the workflow, so that we're able to bring in a concept of the order. So we're going to give it an order ID that's coming in. We'll just give it a string type
and put that in an object. Just because you're going to assume
best practice.
Yeah.
But now I need to give this order
ID.
Yeah,
TypeScript's going to be annoying. Yeah.
This
is on the left. You put this on the left, and then put a colon on the right, and then another object to destructure the order ID. No, colon on the right. On
the right. Yeah.
So this thing on the left is the. Well, actually, no. This thing on the right is the type. So okay, do it how you normally do it. I mean, I don't want to.
I'm not the types guy, but we could also just
not
do
a types guy. Okay.
I'm working on it, but like to be able to do that live, I would have to Google. We could do type order, or we can say type order equals this, and then order is a string.
Sure.
And so we can just do this. This thing takes a
takes
the
arg.
order input, right?
Yeah. No. Whoa. What are you doing there? No. Just put arg colon order, capital O. Yeah. You're good.
All right, we're good. And then we'll do let ID equals arg.order.
Yeah, you may want to call it order ID. That's probably going to bother some people.
More idiomatic, right?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now we're all up to date. So then let's pass that ID in line 47.
Line 47.
All right. Is that what you're thinking?
Yep. That will be the ID here. And we will need to, because that's just going to then react by telling us that's the action is going to just reach out to the actions, which is reaching back to Hasura, saying this ID, Hasura, this ID is now getting updated. Yep. Okay. So now what we need to do though is create the order, and then we have the ability to later on call the delivered action, right? On the on this workflow. Because we're going to get the workflow ID, and then we're able to process that workflow ID as part of our process. What we would probably ultimately need is a way to persist the workflow ID onto the database too. So we have a way to make the connection between which workflow is running for which order.
Okay, can you mock up the mutation you need for that?
Yep. So let me just go ahead and save this real quick. I'm going to hop back over to Hasura. So basically, from the Hasura side, on our order table, we have the moment where we have the delivered status, but there's no way for us to be able to run a mutation inside of our actions that would tell it which ID to. Well, let's skip this part for now. We'll add this to the end. So first we'll create workflows with the actual event trigger, and then we'll be able to see as an order is created. We'll be able to see the requests coming in, and then we're able to kind of layer on our behavior, because our running functions will have a copy of our order ID already. Does that make sense?
Okay.
All right, let's go to events here. Create a new event. I'm going to go ahead and call this create delivery process. We're going to put this on the default database. We're going to put this on the public schema. We're going to put this on the order table. And anytime that there is a insert statement, and I'll allow this to be triggered from the console as well, because at the moment I don't have, I have some orders that don't actually have any processes. I'm going to say we're going to make a request to the same endpoint here. And we need to modify that request here. So what we're going to do is say configure REST connector, change request options, make this a post request, and then we're going to go ahead and say change the payload. So we're going to say that this.
What is all that?
So this is the default behavior. What I might want to do is say. Would I want to just leave it the way it is, or do I want to actually go ahead and modify here? So the field that I'm looking for is this one right here, which is going to be on the event.data.new.id.
Okay.
And so basically we're telling our input that it's supposed to look for a argument named
order ID.
Order ID. And that's going to be receiving a simple string that is going to be this templating language. This is the Creedy templating language.
The what template?
Creedy. It's something that some developers at Hasura made. Creedy. It's a way to do JSON string parsing. So we have the body, and so it's the top level body.event data.new.id. So that will now allow us to parse this huge default event action. This is what happens. This is what gets created every time we have an event, and we're saying, well, our specific API endpoint is wanting it to be in this shape, and so we're able to be able to do that. So we'll go ahead and create the event trigger. We made it as a post request, right? We did.
Yeah.
So everything there should be set up. The only thing I was just wondering was if because it's the data.new, it's not going to actually allow me to do anything via the console because it's on a different path. I'm just not going to worry about that for right now. So I'm going to go ahead and create the event trigger. And I'm going to go back over to the orders, and I'm going to delete a couple of the orders because I have a kind of a messy system here. So I'm going to go ahead and go to orders. I'm just going to delete like a couple of these so we can look at our UI and kind of have a bit of a path. So we're going to go ahead and just delete those.
Yeah.
And so now what we should be able to do is when I go ahead and you can see that the subscription updated, I'm going to create an order, but what I expect to have happen when I create the order is that I'll get a new workflow started, right? Per order. That's kind of what the behavior we're expecting to see.
Yeah.
And each of those orders should have a scoped state that includes the ID of the order that's being created. So if I go ahead and I create a new order here and another order here, that's 2 orders.
Is that wired up to Hasura? You do it.
They are because the subscriptions are running.
Okay.
If I refresh the page here, we can see the orders created. If I look at the events that got created here, we can see the processed events. So the delivery, there was an issue with the delivery.
Do we know what the error was?
Let's see if we can expand this out. So there was an error about fetching the event.
How about invocation logs? What's there?
So we can try and expand this. Order ID version 2.
Is it supposed to say payload? Yeah. Oh, okay. Wait. What's in that message? Yeah. All right. Connection failure. Response timeout. Why? Keep going. Okay. Well, why did it have a connection failure? Okay, let's look at the terminal, the worker terminal or temporal terminal. The other one. Did anything show up here? Nothing. Okay.
This is the server. This is the server.
Yeah. Right. So something's funky here, right? There's some kind of timeout that I don't expect happening on the temporal side. So let's look again at the error message because I don't think this error message makes sense yet. This error message. So if you go back to the error, so it says some kind of timeout. What is that?
Yeah.
What is response timeout?
Response timeout micro. Is that from Express?
It could be.
Is that using micro middleware?
I don't know.
Do you know where this XB3 trace ID span ID is coming from?
No.
Those headers?
No.
So if we take this,
I think it comes from you guys because it's a Haskell error.
It's a Haskell looking error.
Like when I type the error in, it's a Haskell error.
Okay. So let's see what we can do then if we go to modifying the thing here. I want to see.
Do you know that it can call HTTP localhost? Like it should be, right?
Yeah.
You're also calling from localhost. Yeah. So is there a way to manually trigger this somehow? You said no.
Yes, our path here will look a little bit different than the than on the new field. I'm just trying to think through here when we modify, because it's interesting that it's called it payload.
Yes, that's the other thing that I was suspicious of.
I wonder if
so because there was no request logged on the temporal server side, I don't think it even reached temporal.
it didn't make it that far.
Yeah, it didn't make it that far. That's what, there's nothing in your terminal log, so I don't think it made it all the way there. It's something in the response that says there's a connection failure with some kind of timeout. So I suspect like we have to figure out what this is, and I feel like it's a Hasura thing.
Let's try running that with that body real quick, just to confirm that everything behaves the way we would expect. So if we go ahead with the body here, we're going to go application JSON. We're going to go ahead and go with order ID. We got a YouTube comment here. I got to take a look at the comments.
Oh no, I mean I'm looking at it. It's Laksha being nice to us.
Who's Laksha? Or do you know him or no?
No idea.
No idea. Thank you, Laksha. All right. Gonna go ahead and say I got a message to look at the comments. That's why. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass in the ID there. Okay. Let's go ahead and see what we get if we run that. That's the workflow ID. Or no, that's actually my ID. It's the one that I grabbed. Okay. Go ahead and send that. So unexpected.
Did you?
So I am being told the localhost will not work. I'm just I might be doing like a stupid thing. So give me 1 second to debug this from my side. We'll pull up in the docs here in a minute. I'm being told by a coworker. Shout out to Praveen here.
Thanks, Praveen.
So he's saying, and this is probably where our issue is that the event needs to be using the Docker internal host instead of localhost because of the because
just because.
All right, and I know we have that in our docs. I thought it was only if we were talking about internally hosted things, but I could be totally wrong on that. Let me just go ahead and look up the Hasura docs real quick on that as well, because I want to make sure that I'm making sure I have the thing correct here. So event triggers. We have the information about internal Docker.
Yep, right there.
Using Hasura Docker, ensure that Hasura Docker can use that book. See this page for Docker networking, and then it is the port. We'll test it anyways. All right, getting back over to the event here and see if it works. Because what I'm being informed is that it will attempt to connect. It will attempt to connect to internal to the Docker container with localhost as opposed to trying to reach out. So, and it's probably not even going to be HTTP in that case. We'll just go ahead and try this. Cool. We'll go ahead and retry the event here. I think I can actually re-trigger it from the events tab here. And I think it'll try with the new information.
Nice.
Invalid URL. So let's go and put the HTTP back on there.
Oh, that was quick. Okay. And, yeah, some validation or more tips here would be nice for that UI.
We do. Okay, so now we're getting to Express. Okay.
All right. All right, looking good. All right.
Actually, I think that was fine, right? It's a 200 response. So we can
Well,
just.
so
This still aired.
what error? Oh, yeah. How come it didn't update? Do you have to refresh it?
Well, okay. So this one went through. Okay, yeah. And then we can go ahead and have a look now to see if it actually got through. Oh, yeah, that's right, because you don't have the webhooks. So okay, here we go. Hey, here we go. All right. So this one ran through. Did it just run all the way through and like complete it?
Yeah, I think that
it's there at the very end of the workflow. It's basically just going straight through.
Yeah. The one that you want is the first one, because that started at 6:38 p.m. your time. So that's the one that we want to look at. So now this one is blocked on workflow condition.
This is what we want.
Good. Okay, good. Now what?
So let's go ahead and can we manually clear these here? Can we terminate, just clean up the console so we make sure we're working with clean copy, no carryovers?
Yeah, you can manually terminate, but then you'll have to change the filter on the console. So yeah, just go ahead and terminate if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, you just terminate. You don't have to provide a reason. Then head back to the dashboard. You can filter by start time of like last 5 minutes or something like that. Last 10 minutes. And that will get you some kind of cleanness.
A little bit. Sure. Yeah. So let's go ahead and go back to the orders real quick, and we're just going to start with a fresh list here. So we're going to go back to the data. We're going to go to the orders, and we're going to go ahead and just clean these off. So we have clean data. All right. Fire these all off. Once again, shout out to Praveen. Thanks for that information. All right. So we're going to go ahead and run 2 orders so we can kind of just track 2 different things. And when we come back over to Temporal, if we refresh now, we should see that we have 2 running processes.
All right. So we have Hasura
event-driven.
Event-driven. Okay.
Drink.
What's next?
Yeah. Drink. So now we have that being created. We want to have a way to expose the different, like we want to modify the state of this running function now to be able to say, okay, we're calling these different workflow IDs through our Hasura API to be able to kind of update the behavior. So we can say we want to put this as picked, put this as whatever the different processes are that we had defined for our workflow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Go ahead and go to our code here. So this is the handlers created. So we have the picking signal, the packing signal, the shipped signal, on truck signal, 3 stops away, 2 stops away, 1 stop away, and delivered.
So by the way, if we want, we can combine all of that into one signal. It would just have sort of different API characteristics. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, we just want to receive a signal that sets it to a string, inside of that handler. So you can actually combine it into one call if you want.
Talk me through that refactor. Or should we just leave it
Yeah, I think keep it away it is for now, because I'm not really sure what we're trying to do yet. So yeah, just talk me through what's next in terms of.
So now we want to basically have an action.
Yeah.
When we signal this function as shipped, for example.
Okay.
We want to then update the Hasura DB that the current state of the workflow is shipped, or just be able to query the current state of this workflow as shipped. So how do we modify this now to set the current state as shipped? So that's down here below the await condition, right? This is my handler code.
Yeah. So we forced you to go through picking first, then packaging, and then to shipped, right? Mm-hmm. So you want from here, you want to call out to Hasura to update that state.
So Yeah,
so it's kind of like the delivered action in line 48, but you just have something else in line 42, right? Like something similar in line 42 that communicates to the Hasura database.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can duplicate that line 48 to line 42, and then and then you just pass in whatever you want. Again, like we can make a very specific action. We can make a very specific activity that does what you asked, or you can make a more generic activity that we can pass in whatever string, and then it just does whatever update we ask it to do. Whichever is more convenient.
Because what I'm thinking is like to replicate a sort of a real world scenario.
Yeah.
Picking, packaging are events in the life cycle that the user is not actually needing to know about. Like they don't need to know the delays or whatever else is happening. But so like when they're watching from the Hasura side to see what the current state of their delivery is, they might care to be notified on shipped, and then they might be caring to note about 3 stops away, and then like delivered, right? So those might be different parts of the process. We can still signal the different steps of the process for different behaviors, but like where we want to actually reach back out to update Hasura, we want to say, okay, here's the current status. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to mock out the mutation for shipped?
The mutation for shipped? Sure. So we can go to, I think we need to, should we make there be just like a current status field on Hasura? So that way we just update a simple string. I think it was a delivered Boolean was the behavior. So I just
Boolean to status refactor.
Yes. So we're going to go ahead and add a new column here just called current status. It is going to be of type text, and it is going to be nullable, and we'll just go ahead and we're going to actually not do the camel case because some DB admin just died. I'm going to go ahead and say current status. Good. All right, so we have a current status ability that we can go ahead and update on the order. And to modify that, the mutation of that's going to look like this. Mutation.
You could just also copy from what you had before, if that is easy.
Yeah, probably. So mutation looks like, we just have to copy that code from the actual.
Yeah.
It was an invocation error, by the way, so.
I think that was old. We don't have a type step on this. Yeah, I think it's old.
For my code here we go. So underneath the activities,
yeah, this one.
We'll just take this one, and I'm going to do the. A second, we're gonna go to the all.
You have too many desktops.
Breaking them up for viewing purposes. So we're gonna say update status. And we're going to say updates. I'm going to actually do update order by primary key, so we can toss all of this garbage here.
Doesn't like that.
Yeah, because it's not part of that input type. We can just say the primary column that we are watching is ID. Does it not want it on that?
Okay. You're going to need a second variable, I think.
Yeah, we need to set the value real quick. Down here, let's modify this real quick. And so we have the update order by primary key, primary columns. After the primary columns, we can do the set. I'm starting to get to that part where my typing goes out the window. And we'll say current status is going to be a variable called status. And that is going to be a string.
Or an enum.
or enum, yep. And then we'll go ahead and, because it's nullable, it's not throwing any errors, but this would then give us the behavior that we're looking for. So we can go ahead and copy that.
Well, you should always test it, right? Last time we didn't test it, and we were off by a single curly brace, and that screwed up our day.
Testing, because this is not an enum.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and run it.
I mean, since it's already in graphical, right? Like you always want to test it, so like,
update order by
so
prime
I'm
ID.
guessing you have null
that
because your
ID is an
null.
old one. Yeah, it's an old.
Exactly, so
it's an old order.
Hey, yeah, that's the only thing I wanted to validate. I want to validate that the GraphQL is correct. And like last time we had missing curly braces, and that was really annoying. So I wanted to make sure we don't do that again.
Indeed.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right, this works.
All right. So we have that working. Good. We can take this. Head back over to our code. I'm going to actually just do the whole window space things because that'll just help us find our way around.
Okay, right. So now you can just copy and paste this and then just name it something else. I think that's the easiest because we only have 3 of these to do, so you don't need to make it super generic. Yeah, you just exactly. So whatever the status was.
And then we can go ahead and put in this code here. And now I actually should be able to make this be status, because param was just a neutral term there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're able to pass in the ID, we're able to pass in the status, and that will mutate when we do update status. This now works as a generic updater for all of our
statuses. Yeah.
Atai.
So stati. So go up all the way up to the activities. So you're gonna on line 4 next to delivered, you're gonna want to destructure update status as well. So you that's the one. Okay, so now go all the way down to line 40 something, 42. And let's change that update status to to the new one. Yep, that should do
and
it.
We can do that now.
We can
we can do that now to 3OA. And then we can do this to we can just do make it deliver. Let's add it, and maybe we'll just refactor away the other thing too. So
yeah, you can comment the other thing on if you want, or up to you.
Yeah, we'll leave it for now because it's in the UI logic, and I don't want to break anything at the moment. But
all right. Okay.
So we have this, and then we're able to now. Here's where the cool part comes. We're going to go ahead and add these signals back to the Hasura API, where we're going to be able to then call through the GraphQL API these actions that will then update the behaviors for the specific function. So the request. Let's go ahead and go back and grab our from the events now. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to add to the subscription the current status real quick. So on the orders, just so we can see what's happening. So on the subscription that we're running for orders, we have the ID, the delivered, and then we're going to get the current status. And then down here, right below where we have the ID that we're looking at, we're just going to view the current ID status, or the current status. And we'll make that be an H3 for anybody who's watching and cares. All right, so we have 2 different pieces of state. So we can see that our one current status that we had from the subscription is just showing up. And now when we call the behaviors, what we should get when we hit something like on truck, will update the, we'll basically take this ID and it will make a button that will go ahead and call our temporal API, which will process the workflow, go back to Hasura, and update the current status.
Yes.
Cool.
But you need to wire up the buttons.
Yeah, that's easy. All right, let's go ahead and add.
Is that the next step? Yeah.
That's the current steps. So we're going to go ahead and add the API connector for the current delivery process. We're going to steal this the baseline there. Go back to actions. Go ahead and create an action. We're going to go ahead and call this action update status, and we're going to say arg1 is the ID, which in this case is actually looking for a string. So I'm matching this to what our API endpoint is expecting. And then we need the status, which is going to also be a string required. And we're going to say that the response is going to be the shape of the what gets returned from our workflow when we call a workflow behavior. So when we signal a workflow, what's the response look like?
Nothing. There's no response.
No response. Okay. So we can just say that it's I'll take care of that in a second. We're trying to think about what would be.
We are working on a feature called synchronous request response that will have a response if you want it. But right now, signals and queries are very separated. So signals only send data in, queries only get data out. If you want, you need to signal and then query. It's a very modularized system.
We're just going to go ahead and say the output here in this case. Might be able to just force it to say something.
Okay.
Or just say, I'm not actually sure what to do about with no responses. Find out. That's going to be, we don't need any input types here. So what we're going to do is head down to the, we have the internal API. So what's the API path for signaling the workflow?
Yeah, so I looked that up already. So it's a put, and then your localhost whatever thingy slash signal slash the name of signal, and then slash the workflow ID.
So each individual signal gets its own
name,
own behavior, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, we have
that might actually be annoying because we'll have to make 10 of these. So this would be a good use. This would be a good reason to consolidate all of them into one signal. Yeah. So so let me just try to type this in so that we'll save some time. Workflow.set handler generic signal. I don't know.
Yeah.
State void state. I'm just gonna give you I'm just gonna helping you think it through.
Yeah.
But this is not very fancy or anything like that. Okay, so I pasted it in the chat, but essentially we're gonna collapse lines 29 to 36 into one thing, right? Just so that you can, yeah, exactly, right? So we don't have a generic signal, so we're also gonna collapse everything above, to one thing as well.
I don't want to break the delivered just yet, right? Probably.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
actually, we can. That's an action. That's not a. That's a
nothing to do with that. Yeah.
So then we need to have the export const
generic signal. Yeah.
Generic signal.
Yeah, exactly. And then just call it. Yeah. You can delete the rest. So you can call it generic signal in the string as well. The string is really what determines the name. So right now you call it picking, but you can call it just call it yeah. You can name it whatever you want, right? And then TypeScript doesn't like that we didn't specify the type in there, so we can just make sure the type is type of string. So new state : string. There we go. All right. Is it happy now? It's not happy. Why is it not happy? Can you?
So it's got to be void or promise. We can ignore the TypeScript error for now.
We gave it a void. Well, you can say async.
Well, it says void or promise, right? So that's what it's
know.
complaining about. Is it's void or promise?
Okay. So because we're receiving an argument for the first time. So in define signal. So workflow.define signal. Okay. So line 11 workflow.define signal, we need to declare a generic in there. So I think it is string. Try this. Just put the angle brackets and then what I typed to you in the chat. Yeah, that's. So this is just for type safety, right? Like we are expecting a string to come in, and it's only going to take a string. Okay, so now we can save this file, and then it's going to reload, and now we can.
Should I remove these conditions?
No, it's able.
Oh,
to
right, because it's yeah. Okay.
So we can copy. So this generic signal now on the Hasura side of things, if you go back to the Hasura panel that you were at. There you go. Okay, so now you can say you're signaling the generic signal. The second problem that you're going to have here is that you also need to do slash then the workflow ID. Can you template?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So generic signal slash workflow ID.
So then what we need to do is we're going to. This is where I was wondering if we would need to have the problem where we needed to store the workflow ID as well back on the Hasura template, but we'll get around that with maybe some manual behavior.
It's the same with the order ID. You have the order ID.
The order ID I do, yeah, but the workflow ID.
It's the same thing. It's you can set the name of the workflow ID to the exact same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's gonna come in handy. All right. So what we can do then is we can make this be the. I configure the REST connector here, so we're going to go ahead and going to make this be a put. You said.
Yeah.
And then we need to pass in the. We're going to have to give it a different parameter here, which is going to be the workflow ID here on the mutation.
Okay.
So we'll say the workflow. Well, if we're going to make it be the same as our ID, we don't need to do that. So we can just say input dot ID.
Yeah, I'm a little so that is normal temporal. Right now with this REST layer, I don't think there's a way to specify that. So I may have overstated my claim specifically in this particular setup. In sort of raw temporal, you can do that. Right now there is a difference between workflow ID and order ID.
So we'll give it the workflow ID up here.
Yeah. I'll give some feedback to the guy because I feel like it's a very common thing to want to just specify the workflow ID.
Yes, you're not tracking an additional modifier, and I need to just show the sample context here. No, I don't want to do that. All right, so we're going to say. I want to say it was input.params, a workflow ID. And I'm pretty sure it's input.params. Is it body.input? I may have to Google that here 1 second. But okay, so we got the / the dynamic bit here. Can I show? Okay, I thought I could synthesize the behavior, but let's just do a quick here. I'm going to go to the data hub. Hasura Data Hub, which has a couple of examples of exactly what it is it's looking for. And we're going to look down here at REST connectors. And for example, we look at Airtable. What's it looking for that string to be at the bottom? It's looking for, look at the code here. It is looking for that to be under actions, the string to be.
Praveen's probably yelling at us.
He might be. He may have given up. He may be just like,
Let these clowns figure it out.
What's the input parameter? It's have a look. Because you have to pass in the parameter, and then it's the shoot. Okay.
I don't know what you're looking for.
Yeah, Hasura actions. It's the input parameter that you can put into the that you're passing in from the mutation input. And I can't remember if it's body.input or if it's input.parameter. So it is.
Yeah. Well, the UI should tell you more.
I think it does have a no more.
Oh. Does that help?
So the session variables, and then there is the. So it's not session variable. Body.input. Okay, it is body.input. Okay.
Nice. Okay, so this templating applies at the URL template level as well as the request body. So yeah, okay, you're good.
Body.input that workflow ID. Okay, and so we should be able to just take that, and then we can add the.
So there's a
data,
space. Right? There's a space there that's causing the transformation error. You see that?
No, it's an empty. It's because the current context is empty, and so yeah, it's. Or is it up here? You mean at the end of the REST connect?
Yeah,
at the end of the URL.
There's a space.
Okay.
That's screwing you up. Okay, you're good.
There we go. Okay. Yep. Good. So we need to now pass in the body to that, right? Or is that?
Yeah. Just what kind of signal you want? What kind of state do you want to set? Right. So
we're sending in the ID.
We called it
state,
new
right?
state. Yeah. Well, the new state. So there's no ID needed. It's just the new state. Whatever state you want to set that workflow to.
Just like that.
I think we call it new state.
Did we call it new state?
I don't actually know. Is there a name for it? Huh.
Oh yeah,
we did call it new state, but like I'm not sure if it actually matters. Which makes me.
It probably has to matter.
Oh, okay. This needs to be. So we need to make that an object. It's the same thing.
This to be an object. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
We're back to our type thing.
TypeScript, exactly. So, okay, yeah. Can you go left and do args :? Okay, and then instead of state equals new state, it's state equals args.new state. Let's see if that works. Okay, and then finally, we need to refactor line 11. They just need to make TypeScript happy. So instead of string there, replace string with new state : string. There we go. Hey, all right. Heart surgery with TypeScript.
All right. So this will now accept a new state property.
Exactly. So now you can put that on the body. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, but like, just using objects is a little annoying. You still typing state, but yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. So what is this error?
Let me just see here. Yeah, I think that's just complaining about the that I don't have I'm not passing in a an example. So I believe it is. So body.input dot status. That's why. Not status. Okay.
Okay. All right. Oh, there you go.
So all it needs is this. It doesn't need the workflow ID is being passed in the URL. The ID isn't needed because it's already got the copy of the ID, right?
Yeah, exactly. The workflow ID.
The function has its own, so we don't even need to give it an ID. We can just drop the ID off of the inputs.
Sure.
All it needs is workflow ID and the new status.
All right. What is temporal?
So it is the response, which So now and the part where I have to try and think through what's the right way to handle this. Can I tell it that it doesn't actually have a response? I don't think I can. I don't think GraphQL has a null type.
I mean, can I give you an empty string or undefined or?
Is there any way to tell temporal to send anything back?
It'll probably send something back, but I don't know what it sends. I don't know what it sends back.
It would probably be just on body, right? It's probably just like a body.
Okay. Yeah, just try that.
We can test it, see what happens.
All right.
Inconsistent object in action update status. The type temporal output is not an object type defined in custom types. Well, I know you're not defining custom types because I'm defining you in custom types. Or am I? Output, not input. Output. There we go. So wake up, Jesse. All right. Let's try that. There we go. So, see? I've only been working here for over a year. It's getting to be that time of day for me. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and save the action, which we already did. Good. We're going to go ahead and test this out now. We're going to snag one of these running workflow IDs. We're going to just test this out in the API Explorer. And so we're going to go ahead and run a mutation that is called update status, which that update status is now looking for the workflow ID. And the new status needs to match one of the ones that we've got down here, right? So what we're trying to tell it to do,
in fact, it strictly has to be picking, right? Or that's what it's waiting for.
So we can see which one it's actually going to get stopped at. It's going to get stopped at, for example,
it's going to be picking first, then packaging.
So it has to be picking. Okay, yeah.
I mean, that's what we said here. So
yep,
that's what it's going to do.
Otherwise, it'll never. If I call these out of order, it would never make it, right? Because it's still waiting.
Correct. There. Yeah, that's how you implement the state machine there. But it is very flexible, obviously, if you want it to do something else.
So we can go ahead and put in then picking. It'd be kind of cool to be able to deliver back what the expected next step is, like from the workflow. So the next state should be this, and then that lets the API know what to call next.
So are you supposed to post to localhost 8080? Your post address is localhost 8080, is that correct?
Where? No, that's this is calling the action directly, the one that we defined here, which is supposed to be going to the 3500 signal.
Okay, all right.
So we can see what the actual error is. I'm going to go ahead and pull this open for a bit of a nicer debug. I'm going to go ahead and call the...
We can't see it, by the way, on the screen.
Again. I'm going to move it over there here once I got it open. All right, so we called the action. which is called mutation, no variables, workflow ID.
So it's trying to get it's trying to JSONify HTML.
I think it's trying to. So the error, there is an error, cannot put signal, generic signal, and then the workflow ID, which is a different error. Do you know why we'd be not able to actually run that put command?
No, I think we did everything right there.
I'm going to go ahead and make this a string, but at the moment is that action is returning an error.
Is it so? What about like the origin? So why is it saying cannot put slash signal rather than okay, have we exported the signal? Can you go back to the workflow code? The code. No, it's on the
finding the code. Where is the code?
On the left.
Yeah.
So we did export it. Okay, then I don't know why. So the export is the main thing. We may need to restart the server. Can you restart the server? Because it doesn't refresh by itself. So you have to go to the terminal, which is all the way on the right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's probably it. So now that the server is restarted, can you try again? Yeah.
So it seems like it did something. And
so now it's in the state of picking. Yeah, we can see the state. If you click into the run ID of the first one, and you get to the history tab, you should see that it received a signal of a generic signal called picking, right? So now it's gonna wait there until the next stage, which is packed, I think, and then finally we'll see some actual visual change with the third state. Okay, this is taking a while. Why is it taking? Okay, all right, that's fine. So yeah, and then finally, what's the third one?
Shipped, I think. Or was it on truck, or what was the?
I don't know.
What was the state we told it to be?
You came up with this.
I know. I overdo everything. I know. Okay, so we got shipped now. Right. Yeah. So when we get shipped,
it's gonna go ahead and execute the other thing.
We'll see an update here.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you give it a second.
So it should have executed that. Let's go ahead and check the term. Yeah, this one. Let's just refresh this and make sure that all the signals were received as per expected. So it should have. Is that the bottom?
It triggered the action.
Is number 18 the end? Is there anything in 19?
Workflow task started, workflow task completed.
Yeah, there should be an activity for 19. The fact that there isn't. Okay, so if there isn't, there's something wrong there. Did you can you go to the terminal with the worker? The other one, yeah, the other terminal. Okay. This one should have executed something. But
does that need to be restarted also to be aware of the new code?
It should have restarted itself, but let's try to do it manually just in case it didn't.
And this is the one where if it didn't, it will pick up in the queue and execute things.
Okay. So you ran yarn run start. So I told you. Okay, you want yarn. You want to be in the right. Yeah, exactly. So what was your question again?
This was the one where, like, again, if there was a task, an action in the queue, it would pick it up, and that's part of the thing.
The whole point of temporal, yeah. So it's supposed to go ahead and execute that activity now, and if you refresh this, I think it's not doing that, right? So something's so let's go look at the code again. Like I'm trying to figure out like why that might not.
But when it gets here, it's supposed to do await update status, which is an action we imported.
Right. Okay. So can we check that?
Yep. Update status to shipped, and that status is this one that we imported over here. Update status.
So it should have made this call, but I don't think that it did, and I don't know why. So that's kind of my my question right now.
Where would we be able to debug what calls were being made or what code was being executed by temporal that step?
Yeah, the temporal. Yeah, this part. So like it's just waiting for something. It's just really I don't. The only thing I can. Yeah, I'm not sure what the cause of it is. If you hit stack trace, is there anything there? I'm guessing no, but I just want to make sure. Because it's something that we haven't. It's only for errors. The query as well. We don't have any queries registered, so that's
the graph was interesting. So we can see over time.
The three
the workflow was
made.
signaled. This was the shipped workflow.
Yeah,
and
the shipped signal. I don't understand this. This should work.
What we can try doing is running that again. Just see, it should not have an issue, right? Because it's
it should be a no op. Yeah. Let's go ahead. So you should see a fourth signal, and then it will just not do anything with that. Let me refresh. Yeah. So
now there's a timeout there. Well, it's the second one we just did, right?
Exactly. Yeah. All of this is fine. It's proceeding as per normal. I just expect it to be continuing on to the activity, which it's not doing, which is a little bit unexpected.
Okay, let's have a look one more time at the code here. See if we can figure out why. We have the workflow. Await update status. Shipped ID. Can we Can we? I was gonna say, can we like console log there and just see what? Right now, it's already it should be past this, right? That's the
thing. Exactly. Yeah. So there actually is a way to debug this by downloading the event history and then doing a replay, but it would be more work. It's not. We need to make a VS Code extension that does it for you, but right now we don't have one. So I don't know where to get it. This is so weird. It's almost I'm almost thinking it's a bug. I'm not sure where. It's supposed to proceed on to the. Okay, can we check that the status is updated in Hasura, just in case?
My guess is not, because we would have gotten that from the subscription. So I don't think it ever called the action.
Right.
So it never got that far.
Right. I'm probably forgetting something really stupid right now. Okay, let's try a couple things. Let's try inserting a couple console logs in there, just to see if we can get that.
Sure. Should we reduce the code down? Let's comment out some stuff so we have like a little bit less. We can kind of replay the
that would help
a little bit. So let's just make this only be something that we're kind of waiting for shipped for now.
Shipped. Yeah. All right.
So we're just removing all of these awaits here.
Yeah. I'm probably missing something really dumb. But yeah, we can throw in a console log there. That will show up in the terminal.
Okay. Now, because there's no more awaits, will that process terminate at this point?
Yeah.
So do we need to create a new order?
I think that would help. Yeah. Let's. Yeah. Did you save it? Did you save the file already? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Let's go ahead and create a new order, and we can clear out the old ones if you want.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and just take the order here. and just delete these here. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to the here, and we can do the 5-minute thing again.
Yeah. Okay. You seem to have kicked off like a. Yeah. All right. That's fair.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and go to the API or to the interface. Create an order. That will have kicked off over at Temporal a workflow. Workflow is running. We need this workflow ID over to the API.
Yep.
Pass this in.
Yep.
We go ahead and run that.
Okay.
And now we should be able to.
Yeah. Let's see what's terminal. In there. So it will be in the other one. Yeah. So you see that console log that ran.
Yep.
That's good.
Yep. Let's make this a little
bit bigger. So we're not crazy. So we're not crazy. But what's worrying me now, if you go back to the Temporal UI.
Why is that running deliver? That's the delivery process workflow. Yeah.
It's correct. That's right. That's the only one that we have.
So shipping.
That's the console log that you wrote. Okay. Yeah. If you refresh that UI on the right, refresh this. You should see if it's still running. Oh, it's completed now. Okay. So that action actually ran.
And it ran. And it updated Hasura.
And then updated Hasura. So what we probably had was a stale workflow that did not have the execution points that we had injected in there. So we needed to refresh it or migrate it while it was still in process. That's what happened with that workflow.
Okay. So just to kind of put a bit of a bow on this, because we're about 30 minutes over. So the reason why this becomes interesting, right, is so by attaching the REST connectors that were pointing to the temporal workflow, we're able to ship a single API to our users. So if we were like underneath the code here for the orders, like we could then make this shipped thing here be a button that would be calling that mutation that would just go out there and run that mutation for us, and that allows us to be able to have one API that our developers are able to look through and expose and be able to see, and we're able to be manipulating a long-running function happening in a different system, like totally external from Hasura, through this same Hasura API that the rest of my interface is built with. And we can actually, I'm just going to do that one real fast because I have that code ready. We're just going to make a very fast button to just make a shipped, the shipped button work. We're going to go ahead and say ship or handle shipping. And in this case, now this is the part where we have one error or one problem in our code base, is that we're not currently tracking the ID, the workflow ID back at Hasura, right? So when we create that event trigger that is updating Hasura, we would need to write at Hasura the actual workflow ID back into our database. And at the moment, we're not doing that. And that would be helpful in this case for us to be able to have access to that running workflow. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So if we were to then be able to take handle shipping, for example, we take, I have it underneath the order, I think, order button. Let me just find where I have the component for that. It's probably underneath an actual component that I've written. That's the orders. I'm trying to see where I put that stupid thing. Maybe under product mutation. Yeah, so this is the mutation here. So it's this query client. We'll just take that whole bit of code there, rip it out, put it inside of the handle shipping, delete that mutation statement, insert it with what we got from Hasura, it into here, and then the variables we need to pass in a workflow ID and a ship status. Now, this is where we don't actually have the workflow ID at the moment, so we're going to just make this empty.
We could make it the same in the future. I've already filed the feature request.
So in the case where it was actually the product ID, we would be able to go ahead and say handle shipping. Do I have client actually imported here? I don't have client imported here.
Well, you could also make
it's not hard to add. Like it's not hard. Yeah.
Yeah, you can return the workflow ID in the GraphQL query, right? Like,
could absolutely do it that way. Yeah. So we have this. Actually, that is a hook. Down here. Actually, it's already in context, so I'm not sure why it's complaining about. Okay, it's possibly undefined. Yeah. It won't be. Well, we can do it this way. If client nothing like a little bit of side effect to start the day off right. All right, so we have handle shipping there.
So I would use the optional chaining operator there, so you don't have to do the if.
Yeah. You would.
Yeah.
So we can have handle shipping there. And then when we have an order, we'd be able to click on it, and then we can go ahead and take, in this case, the. It is fascinating that the status there, delivery status, actually went away. Not sure why that is. If I go to the workflows.
Workflow ID, not run ID. Yeah. The run ID is a single instance because workflows can run for multiple instances.
We're just going to paste that in manually.
Yeah. Crappy live stream code, but
yeah.
I mean,
and then we go ahead and we say ship. Give it a second to do its life cycle.
Yeah, shipped. It says ship right there.
Yep. So that works. If we were to make the full circle, the code here underneath the workflow. So at kicking off of the workflow, when it kicks off the delivery process right here, we would need an action right there to write back, because at the delivery process start, does it have a context to know what its workflow ID is on its own here?
Yes,
the function itself.
Yeah. There's a sort of meta API that you can just grab that kind of info off.
I think it's literally called. Or are we running over?
No, I can go through that with you if you want.
Let's just add it real fast. I'm going to add the column for it at Hasura, and we'll just do it to make it be full circle, and then call it. All right, under order, we go ahead and we go modify, add a column. And this is where, when you have these things connected, it's actually really powerful, because you can iterate really quick. Temporal workflow ID. Don't get people yelling at us. Temporal workflow ID. The text. Go ahead and save that. It is nullable. We'll go ahead and hit save. We head back over to the action side, where we're going to go ahead and it's the exact same thing as our action we have for the updating the status, because it's still updating by primary key. So it's the exact same code we would need for that. So we come over to the activities. We're going to go ahead and duplicate this code. We're going to go ahead and say update workflow.
ID. Yeah. Sure.
Oh, workflow ID. And then instead of the current status, we are going to update with temporal workflow ID. And instead of it being status here, We're going to call this workflow ID. And we'll pass that in right there. We have that exported.
Use Command D for multi-cursor.
Here? Or where?
No, nothing. No, it was just a minor.
In the future. Yeah. Same.
So you still have status there.
Keystrokes.
Yeah. Okay. Update workflow ID. Sure. Okay.
All right. So now what we need to do is we're basically calling this same thing here, but we will call that at the very beginning before any of the await behaviors, right? So we're going to set it right here at the very beginning, kind of like in an init phase.
Yep.
And we will say we're going to go ahead and update the workflow ID is the first parameter we're passing in. So what's the meta? You said something, or
I gave you the code in the chat. So it's const workflow ID equals, you sort of destructure it from workflow info.
And that is available right here.
Put it above. Yeah. There you go. So you just take that and then stick it in. Yeah. And then it's update workflow, not update status.
Indeed. So now when we create an order, it is going to go, it's going to update, and essentially what we can do now from our orders is we are able to, from our query where we have this subscription here, we're going to also be able to grab our workflow ID.
Temporal
workflow ID. And then when we want to update the order, we're able to pass in
order dot. Yeah.
And this is why we do destructuring. And then handle shipping, we need to, there's no event on the button, right? It's just so we can just pass in that.
Well, you can actually just, since you're making a string, you don't have to do any of that. You can just sort of interpolate it.
Yeah, that's bad. And we'll just put that in right here. But like now, I care about bad coding, right? Yeah.
So, well, then you need to specify a type for line 37. Like,
I needed to. Sorry, I undid some.
Yeah,
that was actually it.
So you need a type, right, on
right
37. Yeah. String exclamation.
No, it's not required, so you don't pass an exclamation there. Otherwise, it would probably not in the model because it could be nulled, right?
No, but for this operation, it's required because it doesn't mean anything if it doesn't have.
But I didn't model it as required.
Okay.
So if you tell it that it's a required field, it's gonna, because updating the status is not actually. Did we put it in as required on the action?
No. I'm just saying for this mutation, it is required. I don't care about the model. For the mutation to make sense at all.
If you tell it that, and it is marked as required, so then it needs to be, it does need to be marked as required then. So we did put it as required, and therefore the parameters have to be marked as required. If you tell it it's required and your data model did not say required, it'll error in GraphQL because it'll do type checking.
Gotcha.
Okay. Good. We can actually just have a quick look at that to make sure that the sanity of that looks like it wouldn't error. It's fine. It's fine. Good. All right. So theoretically now we can go ahead and delete our orders again here. So we just have a kind of a clean thing to work with.
I do love the subscription nature that you could just kind of keep it up and delete it.
So we'll just go ahead and go orders. We'll delete these orders. We'll go back to viewing here to just go ahead and do the last 10 minutes again. We have one that was completed, and that's fine. So now no orders. From here, we go ahead and hit an order, And we should be able to now go ahead and say that they are, it was on shipped, right?
Yeah.
Give it a second.
I don't know if that worked. Probably need the console up just to see if the network request is working.
Let's just see if the workflow ID actually came back, because that'd be an important thing. So that actually the temporal workflow ID didn't come. Oh, because I need to update the server probably, huh? Because we added new same thing that keeps fighting.
Always have it in watch mode, you know.
Yeah,
I think that's
true.
a good rule of thumb. This one's supposed to be in watch mode because you're running it in
I think
watch
so,
mode.
yeah.
Just being safe.
Right. It get updated, so but now they're gonna probably not be happy if I run these now.
I'm guessing so.
Because there's no workflow ID now, so let's go ahead and delete those orders.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. That's my bad. That's how brittle my code is here. So go ahead and delete that, and then I'm going to head back over. I'm going to go ahead.
It's just a thing about like always having watch mode, you know. Yeah, it's fine. Just leave it. So,
everybody knows what's going on at this point. All right, if we're going to go ahead and order, and we'll ship that. See if it.
And again, like whenever doing something like this, I always have the console up just to see the errors, because I don't expect it to run the first time, you know.
But we're not even getting the action back. Did I fail to import that on the code at the top? I don't think I did. I think it would have yelled at me. Workflow ID.
It should be fine. Oh, did you save the file? I see that the file is not saved. You just saved it.
No, I just undid the. Pretty sure I'd had it saved.
Before it didn't have the file save. It had the file.
I had the dot, but I think it's because I had typed the character.
Okay. Oh man, so sorry. Okay, all right. So
we'll cut out the.
Can you refresh this page? Yeah. So we should have like 6 of these. Can you see the most recent one? Just the most recent one, top. Yeah. Click into that. Mm-hmm. I just want to see history. So this activity task schedule update workflow ID is in there, but it hasn't been processed yet for whatever reason, right? So this would mean that you need to restart the terminal. So if you go back to the terminal with the worker, for whatever reason, this one is not being restarted properly.
It's hanging.
Just kill it and restart. Start.watch, yeah. So the node mon for this is not being configured correctly, because it should always restart. That's something that we emphasize. So I think there's a node mon somewhere in the package JSON.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Right.
If I refresh now, will it have picked up the scheduled?
It's supposed to. So it's a scheduled activity, but hasn't done anything with it. So it's just kind of like waiting for that to kick off. I'm not sure why. Yeah, I'm not sure why this is. Go back to summary. Summary tab. Top left.
Yeah.
Okay, down. So it's in pending activities, and there's this failure here. It's at its 9th attempt at trying to do something. So what this looks like to me is that it's trying to make that request, but the request is failing. So that that activity that you wrote to update workflow ID, something is buggy in there. There's a bug.
Have a look at it.
So go back to activities. This code, this update workflows activities, so there's a bug in here for whatever reason. It's failing in some way, and I'm not sure
probably
how.
Because the variable is missing.
Yeah, exactly.
So instead of status, it needs to be workflow ID.
Yeah. I feel like you need some sort of linter. Like someone's got to have written some sort of linter.
Yeah, use, for the 4 people watching, use GraphQL code gen for TypeScript. Don't write queries by string, because then you actually get all of this stuff typed and it's checked against your schema and all of that kind of stuff. So like really, it's just
okay, correct. Okay, good. So if you save that, it should actually reload, and I think it actually is going to pick up where it left off. Except that
restart the server or no?
I don't think so. Okay, so here, if you scroll down, you see the scheduled time to retry is in 1 minute. Yeah. So
it's doing graceful backing off or what?
Exactly, it's doing the exponential back off, which may or may not be annoying, right? So if you don't want to wait the 1 minute, you can just terminate this and just sort of run it again. But it would have picked up and continued if you just kind of waited for the minute.
Well, let's try kicking off another order.
Yeah, sure, that works. Okay, so is that the new one? Yeah.
Let's just see if one of these now has a. Let's see if one of these has. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so that works.
So then, in theory, if we go ahead and say ship, there we go.
All right.
So let's go ahead and see if we get our 1 minute timeout. Now we're all updated with. Give it another couple seconds here. See when it's doing
it's
its
other screen. Yeah. So it's in. It has to be 7:46 p.m. your time.
7 seconds. Everybody got 7 seconds. Oh, you got 7 seconds. You're already almost 2 hours over.
3,
So
2, 1, 0.
Boom.
Yep.
All right, we'll go back here. We should see that the workflows are in place, so that we could be able to. If we go ahead and look at the content, we should see that all of our workflows are actually all of our workflow IDs are lined up, and so now we can go ahead and ship all of these out, and give it a couple seconds, and then it'll be everything is like going to be totally working. In theory. Unless we had broken everything with the timeouts and stuff. Just prove that it actually is working. Yeah, see how fast that was? So there's something broken between the connection between these workflow IDs and the table they're on. So I'm not sure what the problem is with those. You're not getting your delivery in time, but now that the code is actually connected and working, you can see just how fast that process is, where you're getting that full real time between two systems of event driven, creating a worker. That worker is updating over at Hasura with a workflow ID, and then we're using that workflow ID to trigger off these shipping behaviors or whatever other of these buttons we want to connect to process the next state for each of these activities. And that's actually pretty magical. And while it did go over, totally frankly, setting up this kind of workflow, so now it's going to have been a total of about 3 hours where you've created an entire data model for an e-commerce system. You've set up a system for tracking shipments on a encapsulated workflow, and you're processing all this data through event-driven programming. It's updating multiple systems. I would say that's actually still pretty good for 3 hours. But yeah. Oh, I think we lost your audio. Not yet. We had this problem at the start of the call. We can't hear you. Ah. All right. Well, I will talk for you. Shawn, thanks again for joining. It was great. A lot of fun on the show today, and really appreciate you. Really appreciate you having there. Stream's given up on us, is what he tries to me in the background. That is true. Go follow at Swix. He will let you know all the greatest things that are happening with the actual temporal interface. This repo, I'll clean it up. It'll be online. It'll be available, so you'll be able to run this. There'll be some steps and some markdown information where you can kind of see how this stuff works together. I appreciate those of you hanging out with us here towards the end, and hopefully this content provides you some value. Again, thanks for joining us for a spontaneous special edition on a Thursday. That being said, have a great rest of your day, and we will see you around the community. Bye.